All right, I think Bob and Mark are both on, and Mark had a busy afternoon, but he said that he could make some comments about some things we think are most imperative right now. So Mark, are you available right now?
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yes, go ahead.
And Bob, you can add to whatever I miss and otherwise I'll be brief. But first of all, Tracy, thanks for all you're doing. I have a lot of respect for everyone in that organization, and I hope everybody takes the survey as well and studies this issue. The Siesta Key Coalition has now grown to 70 associations on the Key neighborhood and condominium now, which is tremendous growth. So we're up to about 6,600 households since we really got rolling late last year. And so that's a tremendous groundswell of people that are gaining consensus about the concerns about the high density hotels. Now it's showtime. There has actually been 2 meetings scheduled. So on August 19th, the first of the hotels will be going to Planning Commission on Ringling Avenue. And if everybody would go to our website, which is www.skcoalition.org, there is 2 things that would be of interest. If you go to the How Can I Help tab on there, it gives all the times and dates of the 2 planning commissions, the one for the one in the village area on Calamiramar and Beach Road, the 8-story, 170-room hotel that's being proposed there for Planning Commission. And then on September 2nd, the hotel down on Old Stickney Point, the 7-story, 120-room hotel will be going to Planning Commission. And they've already scheduled the Board of County Commissioner where the vote would take place on October 27th and November 2nd. Respectively. So we ask everybody to attend if you can, but more importantly at this stage, we're at a window of time where we're 2 weeks out from the first planning commission, the one on the 19th of August. And what we would like everybody to do, and all of your friends, is starting tomorrow through maybe Monday or Tuesday of next week, so that comments and emails to the commissioners can be recorded and made part of the report to the Planning Commission. Please email. And so if you go to that How Can I Help on our website, it provides all the addresses to the Planning Commission, to the Board of Commissioners, to the relevant county staff, and email all those folks. And we also have on our website, on that same section, How You Can Help, a list of what we call coalition issue statements. There's about a dozen or so of things where we discuss our kind of key concerns that we have. If any of those resonate with you, please either, if you want to simply cut and paste, or if you want to put in your own words, pick out the things that you share our concerns with, and please take the time to email those commissioner addresses that we provided during this window of time. Again, starting tomorrow through Monday or Tuesday of next week would be ideal, so that they have time to record that and put that in, and then plan to attend. And if you want to speak, we're obviously going to have a significant contingent of our organization and a few of our professional consultants that we've been working hard to prepare for these hearings, doing planned presentations on different topics. But if you'd like to speak, obviously you're welcome to. You don't have to coordinate with us. If you do want to coordinate with us, maybe show up a half hour before the 5 o'clock start time and talk to us, because we're going to be trying to get on that speaker group list and can talk to you about some of those topics and things of that nature if you'd like to do that. But either way, please attend, speak if you have the passion to do so as well. So that's what's going on. Also, if you go to that same website, the coalition.org, and go to the news section, you'll see a recent press release that we did a week ago that brings up a couple issues that everybody should be concerned about. I'll let you guys read the details, but to highlight the biggest one is the staff took a position that's been a clear understanding of a requirement of these developers for over a year now. And when I say a clear understanding, I mean by the county attorney, by the commissioners themselves, and every one of the staff requirements. and by the developers themselves in their written applications. But one of the developer attorneys decided to take a position that they don't need to amend the comprehensive plan in order to kind of increase the density through the hotels. We obviously strongly oppose and disagree with that position, but unfortunately the county staff stepped beyond their role and went ahead and agreed with that, and that's caused both of these developers to withdraw no need for an amendment. And that is, everybody on this phone should be extremely upset by the staff taking that position and not letting something like that, a legislative matter, go to the commissioners. And so if that upsets you as much as it does us, please let your thoughts be known on that issue. What that does is allow these developers, if it stands, to not have to seek a supermajority of these commissioners to move forward with their plans. It also doesn't require the county to do community-wide workshops and input from the Key, which is what developed all these protective policies to begin with. So that's the kind of things that have been developing. If you go on our website, you can find out a couple more of those things that have been happening behind the scenes fairly quietly as we lead into this hearing process that we're preparing to oppose. Anything else, Bob?
I wanted to ask a question of Mark, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Mark, you had indicated the fact that the staff took the position, and I understand what you're saying, that they made a decision that was a legislative matter that should have gone through to the commissioners.
Yes.
But basically, what are they doing? Totally negating the SK overlay district? What?
No, I called and asked one of the staff members, there's a Todd Derry, who is the one that wrote the letter, and asked him, why would the staff do such a thing and state that? And he said, well, first of all, I didn't tell them, I told them that they go at their own risk to take that position. And I said, but your letter doesn't say that. It says very clearly that you agree with their position and that they can withdraw their need to do that. So that has prejudiced the process. The second thing is, it doesn't relieve them of their obligation to be consistent with the comprehensive plan. What it does is remove the burden of them having to seek that amendment, which is a big deal.
And in that chamber,
Oh, somebody's got something on.
as officers stood guard.
Wait a minute.
Someone needs to mute their volume.
Please mute. Yeah, maybe I got it. Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Mark. That I just found, so basically is ignoring what's in the what we've understood to be our rules for how we judge a particular project.
Yeah.
And
All these policies were created with a lot of input from the stakeholders on Siesta Key leading up to the Siesta Key
Right.
overlay district. And what is happening is an action like that paves the way for the developers with 1 acre of land to change policies that were part of a legislative process that involved a lot of input from the stakeholders in Siesta Key and countywide, quite frankly. And
Right.
it goes to the concerns we've been raising all along, that there's, that we've been crying out for the county to seek input on something like that. If anyone has noticed, St. Armand Circle is evaluating a hotel as well. They're only talking about a hotel that would be 45 feet instead of 35 feet. We're talking about ones that are going 95 feet tall. But nonetheless, notice that the first thing that city government is doing is, before they allow anything to move forward, they're doing surveys of the community. They're holding community-wide workshops. They're engaging with the community to gauge the comfort everyone has in that kind of process. That's what's supposed to be happening here. That's what amending the comprehensive plan would require. And the county staff has prejudiced the process for removing that process.
thank you. Thank you. All right. So we've got 4 people. Bob, I've got 3 people, Bernadette and Tom and Mike, that have their hands up too. So how do you want to do this?
He can answer
Well,
questions.
I'd
as
like
well.
to make 2 statements
Okay.
in support of what Mark said. A short history. On July the 13th, the Condo Council, the Coalition, and the SKA testified in front of the BCC
Right.
And we had two things we talked about. One was that our zoning expert and our transportation expert both think that they shouldn't move forward with any project out here until they have done a transportation study. And we recommended that to them.
Yes.
And we'll continue to do that. The second thing was we pointed out to the commission, we've been having a lot of trouble of the kind of things Mark was just talking about, where the staff is giving legislative opinions or giving inconsistent feedback on setbacks or
Right.
what have you. And so we testified that they needed to figure out what's wrong with the current process, because we knew they were getting ready to study how to fix it and improve it. As it turns out, ironically, that day, they presented a 58-page report of improvements that staff recommended, and there were input from 61 staff members and 30 developers, and guess how many stakeholders who are residents? Zero. So they never even bothered to ask us, and we told them we thought that was pretty offensive, that we were at least equal stakeholders in what people are proposing to do to our island and our county.
Right.
So Alan Mayu actually responded and said that they had notified everybody in late April that they were late March that they were going to do this. But then when we look at it, they really never did say anything. And so we did a Freedom of Information Act to find out who attended these stakeholder workshops from the planners. It turns out every one of these hotel developers was there and got significant time to input to the process. And we were never even given an opportunity to breathe in the same room.
Yeah. Right.
Wow, good for you.
There was one exception, which I found maybe telling because of the fact that a couple of them had worked for the county in years past, that the planner corporation lead did not go from the Dr. Gary project. He declined. And I thought, he had some integrity about that, because it did sound to me that it sets up a very big question down the road.
But their engineer, Kimbler Horn, was there.
The engineers, Kimley Horn, they're free to go and ask him questions, but the people that are the planners did not.
I mean, we're really upset about this.
Yeah.
And, Mark spoke very eloquently about it. And I can tell you that when we go in front of the Planning Commission and the BCC, our lawyer will raise hell.
Great. Okay, Bob, we now have Tom, you were first. So if you would go first, and then I'm going to go to Mike, and I'm going to go to Bernadette next. Okay, good.
Sure. Mark, I just want to let you know that I did get the letter with your attachments. I also wanted to let you know, because of my schedule, I quickly drafted an email and sent it to many of the people on that list. I didn't go through everybody. I do want you to know that I did get an acknowledgement back that my letter would be included in the packet. So if you even send something today, my comments were put there. And I was like, how did, they abdicate their authority, to do these things, and the staff. So I put many of them there. As a 13-year owner of a condominium on the Key, is what I started out with. So I just want to let you know that you do get an automated acknowledgement. I'd have to go to my email to tell you exactly who that was, but it does indicate that if you send something, even as today, you would get an acknowledgement.
That's fantastic, Tom. Thank you. First of all, thank you for doing that. That's greatly appreciated. And I appreciate knowing that the process is working like it's supposed to. Thank you.
All right, Mike, you're next.
Yeah. Hey, Mark. I'm working on a legal opinion too, that on the comp plan, because Anderson's use is not existing. His use was office, or he could build 12 luxury condos. That's it. So the only way he could forego a comp plan is if he had existing use, or he was going site specific. And and that's leading into my question, as we know, he's going countywide global. We have a couple weeks left. Is there any way to do any, and I could help in any way I can contribute, any way we could do a countywide alert, meaning in the Herald and everywhere, to let everybody know from Lakewood Ranch to Siesta Key that this is county-wide. And what I think would happen is you get a lot of hotel owners that maybe have built in the last 10 years to show up and say, well, wait a minute, I just built mine, my 100 and something room hotel by the interstate on 6 acres. And now you're letting this guy build unlimited on 2 acres. Well, the problem is they're going to put me out of business. It'll put every hotel out of business. And I studied the numbers very, very close in the city on what they added, services and all that stuff. They watered down the lemonade. So if we do a countywide global alert, we very well could get some very powerful other hotel owners to come in and impose unlimited as well as owners in, say, Lakewood Ranch and all the other properties or communities around our county,
Bob, do you want to respond to that?
No, I think countywide opposition is important, and the coalition just got through sending out a whole stack of postcards that say do that, and we did it to people on the key as well as several zip codes that are off the key.
Those were sent days ago.
It was about 70,000 mailers,
received
right?
70,000 mailers.
Yeah, that's great.
Awesome, man. Great job.
And you're
Okay.
about to get some press too.
All right, Bernadette, and
Yes, I know that we want to win. I know that we want to win on the go-in, but assuming that we don't get the sort of input and support from the commissioners, does this not leave open a huge road to litigation to stop this process, since a staff person can't overturn what ought to be going on in the legislature? I mean, I find this whole thing kind of puzzling. I mean, proceed at your own risk. I don't know what that means, but if it's set up so that this is a legislative function, then how can some staff guy say it isn't? I'm really confused about that. And doesn't that give us, in fact, 2 bites at this apple?
I would hope so. Our first hope that when we present those facts to the commissioners, that they pause and sort of understand the inappropriate nature of that step and how it's prejudiced the process of doing so, which is why we're trying to shine a light on it. But again, it by no means relieves their ability to not be consistent with the comprehensive plan. And obviously this was a tactic to try to get the supermajority eliminated and the burdens of doing that, but they don't get relieved the burdens of seeking input from the community on those kind of changes or those. So, are we going to challenge those? Yes, and hopefully that'll bear fruit. But you're right, all these kind of statements and putting these things on the record and having a lot of people like yourselves email about these issues builds a very good recordation of these issues that allows us to challenge things if they, don't do the right thing.
Jean?
yes, Mike. Are you ready?
Jean?
Oh, sorry, Joyce,
Joyce?
go ahead. Joyce, go.
2 things. First, our mailing went primarily, I believe, to residents, and I think Mike has a good idea, and if he wants to help finance it, I think some sort of advertising that might catch just the people that he was talking about, hotel owners, and getting to think, wow, how does this impact me, would be a good thing to do. So maybe something to look at.
That's a great angle, Mike. That's a great angle, Mike, because one personally, I've reflected on it before, but not recently, that if I own a hotel in downtown Sarasota and somebody's allowed to build something of the scale, for example, that is being done in the village, 8 stories, 170 room, that is a a very direct competitor to that, to those hotels in downtown Sarasota.
It could be all over though. It could be Venice, it could be Longboat Key.
Oh, yeah, it's the
Sarasota.
county, not the city.
That's
Yeah,
what, that's what
The,
that was the
the
point.
thing to really keep in mind, like being in the business, is ADR and quality over quantity. And the tourist development tax is based on how much we collect. And when you add too many rooms, you water down the ADR, so you don't have the same amount of income. But the other scary part is maybe the 20-year-old, 30-year-old hotels that are already at a little disadvantage. They're not going to have the income to buy new mattresses and buy new furniture and things like that. So especially, when you deal with COVID and red tide and all those other things in the world, I can see the quality of our whole entire county diminishing greatly by allowing unlimited hotels. I mean, it will turn in, I just can't even imagine what would happen if this is allowed.
And I had one other point. And that is with the issue as far as the developers are not from their viewpoint, they are not being uncompliant with the comprehensive plan. What they are saying is they are compliant because the density regulation does not apply to them because they're commercial. So they are interpreting it differently than it has traditionally and historically been interpreted.
Right. And I brought, that's a great point, Joyce. And I brought that up and I asked Todd Derry that question, why would you guys choose to be the one that interpret that argument? And he said, well, that's our job as the staff, is to interpret code. And I said, Todd, not code. That's legislative policy. Very different. Your job is not to interpret legislative policy. I would agree with you. It is to interpret code to some degrees. And he didn't really have an answer to that.
All right, Leona, or did you want to ask a question?
Me?
There, Tom, okay.
Yeah. I had written about something a while back to the Planning Commission about future, how these changes are going to affect the future. And they said, well, we're very thankful for your concern, but we don't handle that. That handles by the future planners. And I think that now is the time to worry about the future. The other thing is they're overloading things. They only want to do it one hotel at a time, and you're building 270 room hotels right across and right next door and right across the street from each other. And this thing gone down through and impacted, and you start impacting all the cars and everything else you're bringing in here. You're making terrific mistakes, but they don't want to listen to me. They cut me off on Zoom and everything else. So I don't know how to go about doing it.
Well, write the letter to the planner, Tom. Get your comments into the planner.
I did, and they sent me back a nice email.
That's right, but do it again. Now is the time for these hotels to do it again. It gets in the county record. So yes, they'll give you a nice email, but you got it in the county record.
And
So
have all your friends do it too. We need thousands of emails descending this week. Thousands.
Now,
And if you-
before we move on, I just want to make sure.
Joe wants to make a comment too. I've got his hand.
Who is that? I'm sorry.
Joe?
Hi, guys. How are you today? I think I'm feeding back. I just wondering is there a possibility
You got to turn
that
on.
we can work with the local TV station here and maybe get some PR or interviews for all these different areas, that we can have some local television that kind of knows what we're doing? Have we gone down that path?
We've been asked by certain people to come on a program, but I think at the time we didn't think it was ripe in some ways to speak about things until we had learned more. And I think some of the programs were not ones that we thought would be especially advantageous to us. But yes, I think that's a great idea to look at some of those options now and to be able to be available for the facts, because we're very fact-based. And when we can get on a program where we would have some credibility and it would be known that it was credible, I think that's a great goal. So thanks, Jeff.
There are reporters and there are people that are trying to get news about this area on a local
All the time.
side. And this is local.
Yes, it is. And it can go broader. People would have something else.
You can do the hotels, you can do the coalition, you can do all of this and make the whole area know. And it's just an idea that I have to add to this conversation.
Yeah.
Jean?
Go ahead, Joyce. Go ahead.
We have had, early on, we had actually several TV articles done on the hotels. And just recently, Mark was on an interview. And I don't know if there's any coming up at all, Mark?
Emma Sears of Channel 6 did a piece. I was out of town, so I didn't catch it. That probably aired last week. She came out and did a Zoom interview with me, and we've been on TV, I guess, twice, once with Channel 8 and once with the Tampa affiliate. I forget what it is.
Channel 8,
Yeah,
yeah.
there hasn't been a real in-depth TV thing, which would be interesting, something that was more breaking, and maybe the momentum of these hearings might draw greater attention, Tom, for them to do a more in-depth rather than just a snippet 5-minute type thing. I mean, a lot of the reporters have covered in-depth written documents. Rachel's done a tremendous job with the Sarasota News Leader, which everybody should be reading, with the depth of her write-up on this story. But the Observer and the Tribune and the Sands have done good coverage on this as well.
Okay, we got one more question from Tom, and then I think we have to cut it off.
Yeah, thanks. I just want to offer one, and I'm not sure how the association or Mark or the coalition would act, but if we're going to the press, the big issue obviously becomes environmental. The minute you discuss environmental, you discuss any of these things, you get a lot of attention. Now, we've always had in the past, and again, you've had quote unquote Dr. Beach, who gives a lot of ratings for this. And the question is there any information that perhaps he could, as he always assesses the quality of the beach, the quality of Siesta Key, and I know he keeps it to the beach, but obviously he's got to draw. Is there any way to draw him in for a comment about the development on an environmental side that could impact our case? That's just the thought process.
I think it's a good one, and I do have fairly regular contact with him. He's a professor at FIU, and he's involved with lots of folks here. His son used to go to New College, so he was over here quite a bit. And he recently tried to get the no smoking legislation through. It didn't pass, but it could happen another time. I think that's a great idea, and asking him for some related questions about not only how he perceives a good quality beach in terms of the health of the beach, but also accessibility for people. There's some standards for that I believe in the county also goes by. So that's a very good question, Tom. And I'm planning to write to him, if not tonight, probably tomorrow, in fact. So that's very timely of you to bring that up. Thank you.